Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to part three, to day three of this four-part series. We still have one more day to go. Today is kind of a little bit of a special day because for the last couple days we've been talking about, hi, Julie. The last couple days we've been talking about fear and yesterday's home play. If you have done it, we looked at some of the negative aspects where fear has really negative impact, or we feel like it's really negatively impacted not just our life, but perhaps even on a planetary scale. But I also asked you to look at some of the ways that it might have positively affected your life. So, and then reflecting on how that exercise was. So, there might be a lot of stuff stirring up. That's why in day one, we actually started with some supportive exercises and work. And today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the method to my madness and how we can access the unknown, the subconscious, because this is kind of the great mystery in terms of not just our own personal development, but we know that intrinsically we behave from this place of subconscious. However, like Eckhart Tolle says, the problem with the subconscious is that it's subconscious. And only until we start to bring that stuff to light can we actually really start to work with it, right? We've heard the old adage or adage, I don't know how to say that properly, but you know what I mean. You have to feel it to heal it. And so one of the special elements of the way that I teach is working through the body so that we can actually start to unlock the elements of our subconsciousness, but through kind of the back door, because we're all trying to bang down the fortress at the gates of the castle that's well protected. But we don't realize that there is a welcoming entrance on the other side of the castle. We just don't know because we don't know what we don't know. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Hello, Rachel. Hello, everyone who is joining me. I'm going to do a little intro. I already alluded to what we talked about previously, what we're going to talk about today, but I'll give you guys a little Cole's notes. So if you are new to me, I'm Jen Plotnikoff, creator of the Deep Courage Method, which is the healing container, which is the healing journey, which is the spiral inward to really learning how to unlearn, how to kind of unlayer and uncondition all of the societal, parental, all the things that we learned how to be so that we can really just truly be and blossom in the being, right? Like a plant. I have this beautiful gardenia, which is actually going through some struggles right now. She's losing her leaves because she had some insects attacking her. But here's the thing. She produces these incredible blossoms, and no one had to teach the plant how to blossom, just like no one has to teach you how to really blossom. What you have, the essence of what you carry and your gifts truly lie inside of you. And really, it's just like the blossom, just like my beautiful gardenia. If I provide the right container, the right space, the right environment, and nurture the environment, really focus on nurturing the environment, she blossoms vibrantly without any effort, right? There is some patience required. Obviously, she's going to do it in her own time, but we all have our own internal timing. And it's really time that we start, or we stop rather, retarding the process, slowing down the process, the natural process of our inner gifts really wanting to blossom. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. And so not that's a little bit about, how I work and deep courage. I also call myself a fear alchemist, and we talked a little bit about fear alchemy yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about what I mean by that again today and tomorrow. And a self-healing expert. So the reason why I call myself a self-healing expert is exactly what I just mentioned. You already know, you already have the vital intelligence within you. All you really have to do, and I mean, I don't mean this in kind of a flippant way, but all we really have to do is get out of our own way. And we are in our own way. It's okay that we're in our own way. I want you to know that most of us are in the same place, in the same boat. We live in a really hyper intellectual society. We are driven mostly by thoughts and our intellect, which are really of high service to certain aspects of our lives. We're also really, really driven by our conditioning from how to survive in our families, in our cultures, in our world, in all of these different layers and dynamics, right? And the interesting element of this is, and it's something interesting. So I don't know what you posted, Rachel, but Rachel's been hashtagging unlearning or unlearn 2020 or something like that. But I thought of you this morning because really this is part of our healing process, is deconditioning all of the things that we have learned, the ways that we've learned to be. Because as I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned that I'm going to talk a little bit about just how we are designed, because I think it's important to have some context around how we develop as embryos, as babies, so that we can start to maybe put aside and shed some of like the guilt and the shame and the like shoulds and coulds and woulds that we put onto ourselves. It's really important. So as humans, we are designed to be social beings. We are designed to take in and receive information through the intelligence of our bodies. So actually, it's really interesting. Most of us think that our brain runs the show, right? Our brain is telling our body what's going on, which is why we often work with the mind, with the mental elements, right? Even through meditation and spiritual practice, we're kind of working in this paradigm of mind over body, mind over body. However, think about it this way. When we look at even just our gut alone, our gut biome, our intestines and our organs are actually telling our mind, our brain, what to do. So actually, the brain is receiving information constantly. It's receiving from the guts, it's receiving from the skin. 80% of the information is actually going in. It's not going out. So most of us think of the brain as the director, the CEO. It's not. It's not at all. It's the receiver. It's the receiver of information. And that information is coming to us through our physical experience. This is why in the spiritual realm, it's important to work with energy, because even the physical body, we know that we are energy. But until we really tap into the physical body, we're not working with all the tools, because we're not really addressing how the information is coming in to begin with, right? This is the little secret back door that I'm referring to. So the mind is busy with the social conditioning, with the subconscious stuff. It's like kind of full on. And if you've ever meditated and gotten quiet before, it's really freaking hard, right? Because your mind is like, do, 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 like little monkey. That's how we call it, the monkey mind. But that's normal. Most people believe that there's something wrong with that if this is happening. Most people believe that one day, if they just meditate long enough and hard enough and study their asses off, that they will have this quiet, peaceful mind. That's just not the case. Asking your thoughts to stop is like asking your heart to stop beating. Mentally. Like, that's just not going to happen. And not only is it not going to happen, but why would you want that to happen? Why would you want to control your heartbeat? Your heart knows how to beat. It's intelligent. It knows how to do its job. So why are you trying to micromanage it in the same way that we're trying to micromanage our thoughts and beliefs? And so this is kind of the castle I'm talking about. This is where for the most part, this is why when a lot of my clients come in the door, they've been working really, really hard. They've been dedicated. You know, they've been doing a lot of work. And I was the same way. I remember when I was working through chronic pain, you know, I was not the patient or the client that walked out of my physio's office and then just sat on the couch and was like, the exercise isn't working. Like, I had a regime, you know. I worked my butt off. I did my stretches. I did my exercises. But after many years, I was really confused because I was like, if I'm putting in all this work, why am I not seeing the results? And I got the fact that I wasn't going to do exercises for a week and just magically poof, my symptoms would go away, right? But I'm talking after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, I was really starting to wonder, how long would it take? I don't know how long I have. I mean, I was willing to be patient, like most of us are realize. And if you don't realize, if you think that you can go to, you know, physio or a healer or do an Akashic reading and like poof, all your problems are just going to dissolve. I'm really sorry to break this to you, but hashtag truth bomb, that's just not a possibility. Like, that's not possible. Even when we have those experiences, when we feel this huge like epiphany, we still have to integrate that information, right? This is why, like, you know, like even I have a business coach and she talks about how it's, you know, she'll teach and then she has practices for us. That's why you have home play, right? So yesterday you might have gotten some epiphanies from the class, from the teachings. But that's why you have to go and actually write those things down and check in with what's going on. Because if we don't actually connect what's happening in the physical world with the energetic world, we don't integrate it. We don't digest it, right? It's kind of like thinking about eating food without actually putting in your body and chewing it. You can learn how to make food, but you're not going to nourish yourself until you actually assimilate it, right? I'm just going to check to see if I have any questions. No, great. Okay. So how do we access the subconscious? How do we unlock the unknown? This is a really, and the reason why I wanted to kind of dive into this today is because the topic of this whole series is, you know, how to stay grounded even in crisis. And one of the interesting things that I think a lot of people don't realize is being grounded, like just the whole element of being grounded is not ignoring what's happening, right? It's actually a state of being. And I think actually, I remember, Rachel, something that you said when, so Rachel went through one of the programs that I taught with me. And when we were talking, we actually did an interview last summer, I believe, spring, maybe September. And one of the things that I noted and she spoke to was that this feeling of feeling okay, even when things weren't okay. And how ironically, there were more moments in her life that felt okay. And this is an experience that I actually experienced as well in my own work when I was actually going through my craniosacral therapy training. What I realized was basically when we start to work with, like yesterday I talked about deepening our roots and repairing kind of our foundational elements of feeling safe in our bodies and starting to kind of unlock and understand the language that our body speaks, which is sensation, once we start to focus on this, there's this magical kind of element that unfolds, and it unfolds naturally. It unfolds without us having to like focus on it and effort with it. It is kind of the like magical entrance that we didn't realize existed at the back of the castle, where the door is open and there's someone waiting there with like cookies and tea and being like, I've been waiting for you. And that's your body. That's your body. That's your body wisdom. So one of the reasons why this methodology is so powerful is, rather than having to fight and try to knock down the door, we can actually work with nature rather than against it. So what do I mean by that? And some of you might have known, I've been really into watching The Dog Whisperer lately, Cesar Millan. And one of the reasons why, so Cesar talks about training humans to rehabilitate dogs. And it's interesting because the deep courage methodology is all about actually unlearning. It's about training you. I train my clients to remember how to be an animal being, to remember how to be human, a human animal being. And in understanding what that means and actually experiencing it, you get to connect to all of the tools that are already naturally built into you, available to you. Just like you didn't have to train your heart how to beat, you didn't have to train your lungs how to breathe. By accessing this wisdom, this is how we unlock those unknown things, right? Some of you might be familiar with this idea of having cellular memory, right? So trauma or emotions or things that maybe we stuff down in our bodies get trapped in our cells. So I had another client and she talked about exactly that this work actually helped her unlock the cellular memory, right? So I want you to kind of consider for a moment two things. One, is there somewhere inside of you that deeply believes somewhere that something else is possible? I found that for me, that this was a really intrinsic element of my own healing practice. There was, no matter what was going on in my life, no matter how frustrated I got, no matter how exhausted I was feeling, the element that kept me going was this sort of inner wisdom that I knew that there was something for me on the other side. I didn't know what that was. So this is the unknown. This is the potential that we know exists within us. We just don't know how to get there. We don't know what are the steps, right? We want it laid out for us step by step. So good news and bad news. The good news is being connected to that sensation, being connected to that knowingness is the key to unlocking being there and embodying that. The bad news is that there's no step-by-step process. There's no like linear way of getting there. That's going to be the bad news to your mind. But here is also the good news. Because there isn't a linear way of getting there, you can actually get there faster, if that makes sense, right? And I'm not talking about bypassing steps. What I'm talking about is, just like the plant, when we can start to learn how to nurture our core fundamental needs, we naturally get there. So the interesting thing is, if you've ever done some of my programs or worked with me, sometimes I've got you doing some interesting little exercises that are totally practical, but they're little practices that you do in your life, and they might not even seem totally relevant to what it is that's going on. I have clients that come to me with, I have one client that had a whole host. I mean, she had autoimmune system stuff going on, Lyme's disease, chronic fatigue. She was born with a chronic condition, a very rare chronic condition at a really young age that really, it probably triggered the Lyme's and the autoimmune that she was dealing with. There was a lot of stuff going on, right? But here's the interesting element. By trusting in the intelligence of the body, by trusting into actually working with the element of safety and support, she was able to move leaps and bounds. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention, she's in her 70s and had just, before she came to me, she was recovering from a double hip surgery. So she had one leg that was a little shorter than the other. So interestingly enough, in the course of the 8 weeks that we worked together, not only did her body adjust and her, I'm like, this is not even, but there we go. Her legs evened out in terms of structure. There was nothing we had to physically do and manipulate because her body actually knew how to be healthy, how to be whole, how to be well. The only thing we really needed to do was find ways to access that health, access that core wellness. This is the really, really brilliant news. This is the excellent news. Because we're working with, when we work with nature, when we work with the natural world, not only does the body know how to heal, and we're working with that power and potential and potency, but we're actually working with the great mystery. We're working in alignment with the great mystery of spirit that grew us, that created us, because we actually grew and created ourselves, our own bodies and beings. So when we tap into that, we really are tapping into life force energy. There's no need to direct. So there's a huge perspective shift that we do need to take, though, in order to work with this energy. Because most of us are used to driving the ship, being in control, working with our mind to try to, again, mind over matter. Thoughts become things. By the way, that's kind of a misnomer because thoughts don't literally become things. If thoughts literally became things, I would have a mountain of chocolate behind my house, and I would have like a garden of cacao trees, and I would have like little Oompa Loompas around me all the time feeding me chocolate, and that does not happen. I don't know if you can see back there, but there's no Oompa Loompas, there's no chocolate factory. However, I think about chocolate like 80% of the time. It is a huge consumer of my mental game. So thoughts literally don't become things. However, yes, thoughts definitely influence our vibrational state, but actions become things, right? The way that we actually do things become things, right? So I'll give you a really simple example. I talked about years ago, one of the huge shifts and game changers for me when I was struggling with my nutrition and I was having trouble absorbing iron is I realized that for my whole life, I kind of treated my body as this vessel that needed stuff to get put into it, right? It was kind of like a machine. And so I would take supplements and I would take all these healthy things and I would close my nose and down the nasty, good for me, green drink and all the things. And I was baffled because even though I was eating so healthy and taking all these vitamins and supplements, I was lacking in a lot of really vital nutrients. And it was really clear after a couple of years that my body just simply was not absorbing them. It was very puzzling to me how I could live so healthily, how I could have such a healthy lifestyle. Why was my body refusing to absorb the minerals it needed to survive and thrive? The perspective shift for me was realizing that I needed to shift from seeing my body as something I needed to shove things into to make it better, as an intelligent organism that thrived and fed off of pleasure. Pleasure was a really simple but revolutionary energy that I'd never really tapped into with my body. So I realized I needed to start to slow down when I was chewing, enjoy my meals. And I actually created one rule for myself from that day forward. And that was that I had to enjoy my food. It didn't really matter what it was. There was no dietary anything. I just needed to eat slowly and really take pleasure in my food. And that actually, over the next 3 months, 6 months to a year, totally revolutionized my health, totally turned around my mineral absorption. And so it really taught me it's not about what we do, it's how we do it. So this is the secret to unlocking the unknown health within you. You don't even realize how good you can feel because that's not your normal natural state. I had no idea. I had no idea what the potential was, what vitality could and should feel like. And now it's kind of interesting because when I don't feel well, like if I have a headache or something, I'm like, I am not tolerating that crap because I know that I don't have to. It's not something I have to deal with. Whereas before, I was really used to suffering. I was really good at it, and it felt really normal. So we kind of have to work from a very different perspective, a very different paradigm in order to get from what our body knows and what we're used to in order to kind of get to that place that we know is possible. But the thing is that there isn't a step-by-step process to get there, right? So one of the things, I'm just going to just check to see if there's any comments. No. One of the pieces that I wanted to give you for home play today is actually really simple. So if you go back to day one, I gave you a exercise that was kind of a little bit of a lead meditation, a really simple grounding. There is also a recording in the comments below for day one. If you haven't checked that out, you can go back. It's a Dropbox link. You can download it. You can save it. You can listen to it before you go to bed or whatnot. Those are two wonderful ways to start to connect to this place of safety. This is a wonderful thing. That's why day one was all about connecting to that. I talked a lot about foundation. I talked about connecting to building the foundation. And what I mean by that is really relearning how to talk to your body. It's just learning the language. Your body doesn't speak English or Spanish or Italian or Chinese or Mandarin or whatever. It speaks through sensation. So my invitation to you is you can, and the reason why I mentioned those two resources is you can go back to those resources and work with that as a place to start. It's a wonderful starting place. But your home play today is to take 15 minutes and bathe yourself in the experience of pleasure. And I want you to do this by yourself for yourself. So, if you have a wonderful sex with your partner, that's amazing. But that's not what I'm talking about when I talk about pleasure. What I talk about is, what I mean is, like, if you've ever watched a baby creature, a baby human, a baby puppy, a kitten, if you watch any little baby animal, and baby humans, we're so cute. We are so cute. And we are so good at this. If you watch, babies will stick their hand. We're completely exploring our body, our world around us. And how? We don't know how to speak. We do it through sensation. So a couple little invitations. One is you could totally go and listen to some of those, a couple of those recordings. One of those in particular is leading you and guiding you through what I call resourcing memory. So actually, this is another thing you could just do without the guided meditation as well. But if you want guided, it's there for you. You can download it. It's, I think, about 15-minute recording. But you can just simply be quiet with yourself before going to bed and really tap into a memory that you have where you felt incredible. You felt incredible in your body. You felt physically incredible. And what I want you to do is really soak in that feeling and experience down to the cellular level. So where were you? What were you doing? Smell the smells that were there in that moment. Feel the feelings that you were feeling in that moment. You know, for me, I'll just give you an example. One of the memories that is a really powerful one for me was a particular wave that I surfed. And I just have a really clear 360-degree picture of the sensory experience. So I can feel the temperature of the water on my skin. I can feel the pressure of my surfboard underneath my feet. I can feel the energy and the groundedness in my bones as I stood up. So for me, there's this whole painted picture. And what I really want you to get into is the physiological experience. What are you smelling? What are you seeing? What are you tasting in your mouth? You know, if, like in my case, like I can taste that salt water in my mouth because, of course, I'm in the ocean. I can smell the smell of the beach. I can smell the smell of my sunscreen and the salty, salty spray. I can feel my feet. I can feel my balance inside of my body. So this can be an action, or it can be a place. It can be something when you were really, really little. This can be a place that you went to when you're really little where you felt really safe, or it can be a place that you felt really alive. So this is one example. The other option, so I'm giving you two options for home play. One is a resourcing memory, or you can kind of look into day one and play into that. Option two is to give yourself a little massage. And when you do this, so I actually even just starting with, well, you can start with anywhere that just needs a little bit of extra love. The head can be a wonderful place to start. And I actually recommend your head and your face because neurologically, there is a lot of really important neurological wiring within our facial structure as humans that helps to settle our nervous system and helps us to feel safe. This might not work for everybody. So again, these are just a couple different guidelines and suggestions. The overall home play is 15 minutes of spending time nurturing yourself with some pleasurable experience. So the massage, I'm actually going to even do this really quietly. So as if you were like, oh, just adoring your own body. So I want you to just don't get in there like you're a deep tissue massage therapist. Really treat your skin, each cell on your body, as if it is the most precious thing in the world. As if you were, you know, like, if this is something that's difficult, you can imagine and get into that feeling of thinking about the most precious person in the world to you. Maybe that's a child or a loved one or a lover or partner. Get into that feeling of when you see that person. It could even be, you know, your pet. It could be your cat or your dog. So when you connect to that sense of really sweet, sweet, kind, precious, compassionate energy, that is where I want you to be when you give yourself the 15-minute massage. Go slowly, go slowly, go gently, take your time, and use the energy, embody the same energy of compassion and tenderness that you would give to that lover, that child, that person that is so precious. You are bathing yourself in that precious, tender energy. So that is your home play for today. Again, if that's something that doesn't work for you, if it's something that you're like, oh, this is not feeling good, you can come back to, because that can actually, that simple exercise, that can be a lot for some people. So again, in day one, and I post all of the links to the recordings, if you're watching this in the future, are in the event on my business page, Moved From Within. So you can go to the event and all of the days are going to be put there. So day one's there, day two is there, the Dropbox link for the guided resourcing meditation are there as well. Home play for day one and day two, it's all in there. So that's where you can go to find those links. And if you have trouble finding that, just send me a message. So that is the most direct path. It's the most direct path to unlocking our gifts and unlocking our true healing potential. It's also unlocking that life force energy. It's putting us into direct contact with our own vitality. And where I want to go from here is I kind of just want to share with you guys a little bit about why I am sharing this with you, why it is so important. And it is so important to go the short route rather than the long route. It is so important to go through that welcoming door in the bag that you didn't realize existed rather than trying to bang down the castle walls. And the is this, just like, I was telling you, I really follow Caesar lately. This work is about relearning, unlearning the conditioning and relearning our potency and potential as humans. And the reason why this is so important is look at the state of the planet right now. And I'm not even just talking about this crazy virus, which is like what everybody is talking about it. And I'm not saying that it's important, but hey, there are other things that are also happening at the same time. So our focus is being very blurred and very single-minded, which is not healthy. Okay, so if you're feeling like you need to take a break from the world and tap out for those reasons, just know that that's okay and that's a healthy thing to do. But the reason why is we do have the state of our earth is in a state that is directly reflecting of what's going on in our body. And if you, like I, really deeply care for what's happening globally, whatever issue for you that you're passionate about, whether it's supporting other humans and communities that are in suffering, that are in need, whether, like me, I am really, my mission here on this planet is earth healing. One of the things I realized is one of the quickest paths to healing the earth is actually healing our own relationship with our inner earth. We are a direct mirror for what's happening on the outside. Our internal shit is a direct mirror. So when we look outside of us, when we look at the state of the world, when we look at the things that make us upset and angry and defeated, this is a really powerful place to start. And I don't think we realize how powerful it truly is. We are so disconnected from our planet because we are so disconnected from the animal being who we are. We demonize our human traits. We demonize fear. That's what I talked about all day yesterday. We demonize. Even in the spiritual world, we say this is low vibe, something that we're trying to transcend, transmute. Guess what? That is part of the experience here. And by fighting it, by meditating it away, we are ignoring the most tender places within our being that need us the most. You know, for those of you who don't know, I studied ecology. That was my study when I went to school, when I went to college. I studied ecology. And one of my first careers was teaching environmental education to children. And then I worked for the Park Service in British Columbia for 10 years as a park ranger. And I saw this over and over and over. I saw as even people who love nature, I saw people literally loving parks to death, loving nature to death. I saw people treating the earth, even though they loved it, so poorly. I saw people with amazing and incredible intentions for helping to save the animals, doing more harm than good. Right? Just like Caesar talks about how we want to humanize dogs, but they're not humans, they're dogs. They have their own purpose, they have their own happiness. What's actually happening is we're not okay within ourselves. We haven't reached, like that element of when Rachel said, I'm feeling okay. This is so powerful. Because when we start to feel okay with the things that we struggle with internally, only then can we really start to make shifts, right? I see this all the time. We try to do this through spiritual bypassing. We try to do this without actually going through the work. Here's the thing. There's nothing to fight. There's nothing to battle. But there's a whole lot of acceptance that needs to come through. There's a whole lot of acceptance. And if we want to be able to accept fear as a good thing, as a healthy thing, learn and change our relationship with fear and how it's expressed. Fear does not have to be expressed by greed. Fear does not have to be expressed by harming others or harming the planet. That's not fear's purpose. That's not why it's here. We are blaming. We are blaming, just like we sometimes will blame, the problem child in the classroom. Little Johnny or little Jill or whoever is acting out all the time and disrupting the class. Did anyone ever ask or wonder what's underlying that? Why does little Johnny or Jane or whoever need that much attention? What's going on? What's the real problem behind that? This is why unlocking the unknown is so important, because what we think is the problem is never the problem. What drives and underlies this is actually so vital. And in order to be able to address this, we do have to work with our animal nature being. We have to be able to work with nature, not against it. And this starts with our own beautiful, incredible, powerful, potent bodies. So for those of you who are wondering about the deep courage process, I was talking about this yesterday and the day before. I hinted a little bit at this. I talked a little bit about it at the beginning of this video. But the process really that I work with is a non-linear process. It has a structure of building support, building bridges, learning how to listen to the language and of the body. And then what the magic is actually I help to guide you through and interpret what's going on so you can actually start to digest the pieces, integrate the pieces. This is really, really, really potent and powerful stuff. And it is not something that I see in general in the outside world, which is why it is so important to me to come here and talk about it. And not just talk about it, but invite you in. So, as I mentioned, these pieces and the home play are yours to take and work with. And I want you to take them and I want you to work with them. I really want you to play with and practice with them. Again, they are really simple, but they are really, really powerful. Here's the thing is these pieces come directly from the process of deep courage. And normally, it's about a 2-month process. So I don't know if I talked about this yesterday, but I'm going to talk a little bit about, because some of you might be intrigued and want more. There is more. So that's why I've actually created the whole Deep Courage program and process. And I've actually expanded it. I'm like, what's the word? What am I doing here? I've actually expanded it into different levels and layers so that we can integrate our learnings in an embodied way. We can actually absorb it in our cells so that we can take this step by step. This actually, it's slowing down to speed up. So this is what this whole process is all about. So the reason why I'm talking about this is because level 1 is actually starting on April 24th. So it's a group container. It's running for 7 weeks. And each week we're going to have, just like a little home play, we're going to have a piece that we're going to be working with. And it is a really small piece that we're going to integrate into our daily life for a week. And on top of that, we are also going to be working with group healing and classes, essentially. So I do channelings, we do healing work, and we do guided, channeled classes where I actually teach you the skills of how to access your own life force energy to tap into that self-healing potential. So the home play, the pieces that we do each week, are about integrating all of the changes and shifts that are happening through our bodies through the process of the program on a cellular, energetic, emotional, on all levels of our being, right? Because we need all levels to be working in harmony. That's what music is all about, right? We can't have a chord, or we can have discord, but if we have all of these crazy things happening at the same time and things aren't connecting and communicating to each other, we're not receiving information in a coherent and clear way, it is really difficult for our organism to interpret the information. And this is where we are feeling ungrounded. This is where we're feeling chronic pain. This is where we're feeling chronic fatigue. Chronic conditions and nervous system disorder is basically a symptom of confusion, of communication confusion within our organism, within our being. So within this process, what I do is I guide you through. I guide you through unraveling and unlearning the conditioning so your body is free to do what it's been trying to do probably for a long, long time, which is where the ease comes from, right? Which is where the releasing of the cellular memory, which is the releasing of the energy. So if you are looking for, I would say this is definitely for you. If you were, like I described from before, you have been working through a process for a really long time, you're feeling stuck, you're feeling tired, you're not sure where to go next, but you know that there is something for you on the other side. You're not sure how to get there yet. This is the right container for you. So this is the process that I'm going to lead you through to be able to get from here to here, not in a line. It's going to be a little crazy, but that's okay. That's okay. That's part of it. But the wonderful thing is you will be able to experience that feeling that you might be just simply right now aware that it's possible, but you're not yet aware to what that feels like. It's inside your DNA. You have access to it. We just have to unlayer, unravel, and deepen in your own root system. So through this work, we're working with the heart chakra healing, we're working with root chakra healing, and we're really laying down the foundations that you really need to help you be clearer and more coherent in your being. This obviously, not just in your body, but this helps us with our whole system of being. It helps us be clearer in our relationships. It helps us to be clear with our relationship with our own self, so we know what is good for me, what is not good for me. You know, one of the things that we work with a lot is boundaries, but from a very different perspective, right? Because boundaries are tricky, and the way that they're taught in many different modalities, including energy work modalities, don't make sense to how they actually work in the real world. A lot of these things that I see taught don't make any sense. They're not sustainable practices. They're wasteful of our energy and really are not working with the intelligence. So really, by accessing our own intelligence, we're actually giving ourselves permission to just really be us. And in that, what I see, and one of the things that really drives me, is when we start to awaken and work with this spark, the unknown. And I don't even know the results that my clients are going to see, because here's the thing, is locked within each of you is a gift that has been trying to emerge. It's like the sun that's behind the earth. It's trying to rise. It's there. And it's there for all of us. Your gifts are not meant to be hidden. Your gifts are not given to you to be concealed. They're meant for not just your use, but to be shared. So when we start to deepen, really, really deepen into the stability of our bones, into the stability of deepening and preparing our physical container, our physical body, and when we do this physical healing work, we get to emerge through with the confidence to bear our gifts to the earth. And the earth is needing you. This is a call. A little while ago, it was March 22nd, I did a call for planetary healing. This is about you. You are the call. You are the medicine. It is contained within you. It's there for a reason. You know this. You know you are here for a reason. You know that there is a call deep inside of you. This is often why we have this feeling of incongruence sometimes, because it's trying to emerge, but we don't always know how. And this is why I've really created this space, because for myself, I had the same process happening. I didn't realize that all of the pain and suffering I've been going through for many, many years was to be able to bring the lessons and the framework to you so that you can access this with much greater ease, with much less time than I had to work through. It still will take time. That's why the 7-week container, because it takes time for us to digest and integrate these things. So we start April 24th. If you are curious, if you want to know more information, um, what I do is I talk to every single person I work with, whether it's one-on-one coaching work or healing work, whether it's group work, whether it's coming to whatever container it is, we have a conversation. So if you feel called, if you feel stirred, just send me a message, send me a private message here on Facebook. If you can email me as well, whatever you feel more comfortable with, send me a message. And what will happen next is we'll simply have a conversation. We'll have a conversation about what it is you're looking for, what it is you really want, where you're stuck, and to see if this is the right container and space for you. It's not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. I will definitely, I will tell you that. So, and I have definitely told potential clients who I wanted to work with me in the past that it wasn't a good fit. So it's really important. But the powerful thing that even comes from those conversations is, what is your next step, right? So sometimes that just means, where to go next, and it might not be with me. Or it might be that a group container isn't the best thing for you. It might be a personal container. So if you want to have a conversation, feel free to reach out to me. Again, just private message me. Just again, a quick little recap. I know I went really long. This has been my theme for the last couple sessions. A quick recap on just what we went through today, the last couple of days. So if you haven't checked out days 1 and 2 or parts 1 and 2, they are available to you. So definitely check those out. We worked through how to connect with some of our foundations and really where to start. So that was day 1, where to start, how to connect with just what it is to feel okay. This is fundamental and foundational. Yesterday, we looked at some of our beliefs around fear in particular, the negative beliefs and the positive impacts. And today, I really wanted to connect you with really the great mystery that lies within you. And one of the simplest tools we can start to access that great mystery is to honor our intelligence. This is the wonderful thing about my work and the way that I work. I don't have to do anything. That sounds really flippant, but I don't. I don't have to actually do anything to you. I, just like my beautiful little plant that I talked about, I just have to create the right space and container for your intelligence to emerge on its own. And it will, it does. It's how you were created. It's your birthright. Each of us, all of us, when we're working with this beautiful, incredible biointelligence, anything is possible, literally. It is the innovation of our design. It is the creativity of our creation and design. So it's very, very powerful energy. So when we tap into that energy, the world really is our oyster. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? How do you want to feel in 2 months from now? Regardless of what's happening, all of the cycles that are happening on this earth will continue to cycle over and over again. But where do you want to be? How do you want to feel? What is the contribution you want to make here in your own life, in your family, in your community, globally? So again, a little quick recap of our home play, 15 minutes, pleasure, kindness, and really connecting yourself through touch. So it's a 15-minute little massage, little facial, you and you. This is not about you doing this to someone else or someone else doing this to you. This is just with you. Okay, so I'm not saying it's bad to go get a massage. I'm just saying that this experience of actually really nurturing and touching your own animal being from this space of really loving, tender, even motherly energy is a really, really powerful, powerful experience. The only way to see what happens for you is to actually experience it. So that's your home play for today. Tomorrow is our last day of the training. And so tomorrow I'm going to give you a couple other tips and tricks and tools that you can start to, again, implement right away into your daily life. So, quick little recap on if you want to have more questions about deep courage, send me a private message. We will have a conversation. And then again, I'm not about pressure. I'm not about time pressure. I'm not about financial pressure. I'm not about any pressure. I really want to make sure that you are in alignment with this work, with the timing of right now. I will be teaching Deep Courage Level 1 in the future, inevitably, forever, in some way, shape, or form. However, if you're feeling the call right now, and I know for a lot of us, being in quarantine, this is a really good time and space and opportunity. You know, if this has been knocking on your door for a while and it hasn't been the right time, and it feels like maybe right now is the right time, then let's have a conversation. Again, it's 7 weeks, group container. There is some one-on-one time with me. There are group healings and channelings. There is questions, answers, and support from me always through the entire process. There is an intelligent and organic process that I'm going to be leading you through. It is non-linear, but it is powerful and it does work. The other two things that I wanted to mention, so because I've decided finally kind of how I want to unravel deep courage. If you've worked with me before, if you've seen my work before, I've had different time containers. And one of my plans is to actually work with deep courage at least level 1 anyway, at least 2 or 3 times throughout the year. And one of the wonderful bonuses that I will be offering to this round of level 1 is that if you do the work, you actually have the opportunity to jump in on future trainings and calls for free. So the reason for that is because this work is so fundamental and foundational that I want you to be able to come back to these roots as not so much as a refresher, but really as a tool for deepening further into your own stability and really deepening your container, deepening your foundations. Because I find in my own personal work, you know, a lot of the things that I teach all of the things I teach in level 1 are practices from my own life. These are things that I live. I don't teach this stuff and then don't live it. Like, this is stuff that works because I live it. That's how I know it works. That's how I knew it worked to begin with. When I started working with other people and I saw that it was working for them in the same way that it worked for me, that's when I realized there was a process here. There's a framework here, right? That's what I call deep courage, but that's really what it is. This is what I live on a daily basis. And most recently, I've actually started to come back to some of the most fundamental things that I learned. So way back when I was just starting on the journey in my own healing process and really the big revolutionary shift, I came back to some of those things and started to realize as I work through, sometimes we kind of weave in and out of different kinds of practices and different things. But once I started coming back to some of the most simple and basic things that I teach, there was sort of this deepening and a new understanding and a deeper understanding and a better stability and a greater capacity for my own self. So I realized the power of actually inviting in alumni into future programs to not just even support you, but also to support and hold space as we work energetically in that group setting, to hold the space for the group and the collective, right? To have those of us that have gone through that experience the first time. So you're able to come back to that as a powerful resource whenever you need it. Because here's the thing, we go through things in our life, right? We go through things, and at a certain time, it's important, it's wonderful to have connection to that community to always come back to. So that is an incredible bonus that I'm offering for this round. Again, we start April 24th. And again, the other thing I wanted to mention as well is I know that these are really challenging financial times for a lot of us. Not everyone is an online business owner. And so what I wanted to offer was I do have a couple spaces for scholarships. So if you are like, I'm really interested, but I have no idea whether I can afford it, and you know that I do, this is why I talk to everybody, because regardless of financial commitment, I want to know that you are really in the same alignment as this container in terms of your energetic commitment to yourself, really. This isn't about me. It's about you, right? When you show up, just like you right now who are watching this live, you right now who are watching this in the replay. I have a lot of people, like even day one, Sanaz was thanking me, and I was like, thank you, because really you're showing up to yourself right now. When you step into these containers, it's not about, and this is why the way I work, it's not about bombarding you with information. You already have all of the information. What you need is a way to deal with the information overload. You need a way to learn to process, filter, and then get clear in your bones of what you actually want to do, what actions are really aligned for you. This is the whole process of deep courage process. It's not about take all the things. It's about how do we filter? How do we listen so that we can actually hear what's important? How can we get rid of the energetic noise so we can actually work in a way that's clear and coherent, right? This is super vital. This is why this stuff works. So if you know deep in your bones that you are willing to step into that, and I know it is scary, I know it is scary. This is why I teach to fear, because this is why it's called deep courage. It definitely calls us to really deep places in our soul. But I can promise you this, that if you are willing to be open to the unknown, that the support is there to walk you through without freaking out. The support is there in this container. So if you know that that is you, if you know that yes, 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 and it's a financial thing or whatever, let's talk anyway, because I do have some spaces and I really want to make this container accessible for those who really, really are going to benefit from it. So my dear ones, that is the end of part 3. I have gone way over, but c'est la vie. Tomorrow is our last day. And then what I'm going to do in the next following days is, because I know some of you watch these in the replays, I'm going to offer a couple opportunities for Q&A. So for those of you who are doing the home play, who are actually doing your own work, congratulations. Thank you for showing up for you. Really, truly thank you for showing up for you. If you have questions or stuff that comes up, you will have an opportunity to actually ask and receive some answers. And I know that there are a couple questions I haven't addressed yet from even the first day, day one, that I will be addressing. So I'm just kind of catching comments just to quickly if there's anything. Hello, Mary. I'm not sure if you're still here, but there's a few comments that Estella says, "Amen." Wonderful, sister. So if there's anything, questions and stuff, you can always leave them down below. I will address the stuff, if not tomorrow, in the Q&A in the next days that follow. Thank you dearly for your time, your energy, your presence, for showing up, not just for me, but really showing up for yourself. For not just yourself, but for a greater picture. For those of you who are on a self-transformational journey, you are really bettering the condition of the planet. So thank you. Thank you. And if you needed that reminder, thank you. What you are doing is one of the most selfless and challenging and scary as hell things that we really can do here. So congratulations for showing up for you, and thank you for showing up for you. I really honor that. I love you all very, very much. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. So 12 Pacific time in Canada and the US. If you're here in Mexico, around the Puerto Vallarta area, it will be around 1 p.m. our time. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a beautiful and blessed Sunday, and see you Monday. Mwah! Take care, everyone.